Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sports Con with the Con Man. I am your host, the Con Man, with my great co-host, Mike Semiao. And Mike, before we go into anything, I want to thank Kuma King and Key Williams for bringing us on the new network, which is Sports Wave Network. And I think we're gonna have a good time. We have a great guest. His name is Ed Atlas, and we're gonna have a great time tonight. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Michael. Great to see you. Yeah, I'm excited about the new network. I'm excited about the new promo. I'm excited about the new music, all this stuff. So yeah, this is all exciting.
Well, you know what? While we're waiting for our guest, who is coming on, Mike, as I said before, this is going to be kind of like a emotional show for me because of what it brings my memories. Now, before he comes on, because he's coming on, I want to bring you all back. For those of you who don't know, when the pandemic occurred, I was, a little bored. I was retired. Really didn't have much to do. So I was scrolling down, Facebook and different things. And I saw Ed Atlas and what he was doing. And he's the author and he's written some books. His books are tremendous. And I reached out to him and we kind of like hit it on, like you and I. And when I was able, or I got the opportunity to interview Sam Jones, which we'll talk about later, obviously. The first person I thought about was him because he's old school. He knows a lot of history of the game, and he's just that guy. And matter of fact, he's on the air right now with us. What's going on, my brother?
Hey, what's going on? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can a little bit.
Okay, maybe I got to come closer to the mic. How y'all doing?
I'm doing good.
It's good to
now,
talk
folks who don't know, let me tell y'all something real quick. Coach Edwin L. Atlas brings over 40 years of playing and coaching experience at the high school, AAU, Boys and Girls Club, and recreational levels. Coach Atlas personally witnessed highlight moves of somebody we might know a little bit, ABA NBA All-Star Julius Dr. J. Irving as a youth and played on the same playgrounds in his hometown of Hempstead, New York. He played competitive basketball for various teams with the U.S. Army for 23 years, including a semi-professional season in Istanbul, Turkey. His globetrotting experience includes playing and coaching in South Korea and Italy, plus within the states in D.C., Maryland, Virginia, Indiana, North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas, and Oklahoma. He also played for several White House and Pentagon basketball teams during his military career. My man Ed, you've been doing the damn thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, thank you.
But Ed, the reason why I asked you on the our show, is because of what you're doing. You are an author. You've already done so many things in the military. And I wanted to bring the viewers to know exactly what you're doing now, because you're doing some tremendous things. And I want the viewers to know exactly what you're doing.
Okay, well, I started in 2017. I had kind of retired from coaching. I was still with a high school program, and then when the era when the pandemic hit, I slowed down a little bit. But this kid from Ghana, his name is Isaku, who's now my son, considering my son. He reached out on Facebook, and asked me if I could just help him coach, learn basketball. And he was so persistent. I mean, every day he sent me videos. What can I do to improve? I really want to play this game. I want to learn. And I guess he found me and Googled me on whatever. I don't know how he found my name, but found me on Facebook, and we started communicating. And it progressed to the point where he kept begging me, I want to come to play in the USA. And at that time, he was 14, I think, and around 6'3". And he showed some skills, but he just was so persistent and determined to come to play and learn the game. And he put his he would train 6, 7, 8 hours a day, and you could just see he really wanted it. But what surprised me was that the path we took, I helped him out as far as we're his small village in Ghana, because he wasn't in the city, like he was in a suburban village. And he started becoming a basketball ambassador. He just wanted to help more kids learn, not only for himself. So whatever I showed him, I shared YouTube videos with him. He started taking them to the villages, and he went to 21 villages throughout his region in Kumasi, Ghana. And it was just amazing. The kids were so receptive and orderly. And he started, during the pandemic, when the schools were closed down, he started also carrying a whiteboard, and he would take whoever came to camp, like 10 to 20 kids, and start teaching them math and reading English. And so I said, this kid is he's really a godsend. He was like a prodigal child that just, he wanted to share what he learned, and he impacted so many. I would say, like I said, about 200 kids. And so over time, about a 2-year period, we went back and forth. He made the Ghana national team at 16. And so that's where he kind of got noticed by some scouts in the state. And I told him if anything I could do to help him, I would. And he did get opportunity to play in Minnesota, and he played there a year, and he had a little disruptive situation that came along. And where I came and actually got even closer to him, I intervened and flew out there and saw what was going on. And I actually had to help with civil service and police and everything getting removed. And we took custody. I'm retired now, so I had a little more time. My wife agreed we should go ahead, and this is probably the right thing to do. And so we and it was a last minute thing. So a lot of things were kind of chaotic and helter-skelter, but because we took him at the end of June, and then we had to rush to get him into a school that was under the system of Department of Homeland Security because of the visas. He's, as an immigrant student. So that took a little time, and then to try to get him a scholarship, because we didn't have the funds ourselves, but just to get him into a school. So that took, it went down to the 11th hour as far as getting him into a school, but we finally did. And he had the opportunity to play for the school team. And also I got him involved with Adidas AAU program. So he got to travel. And for that, this was his sophomore year, he made the honor roll all four quarters. You didn't have to tell him to study. He took it upon himself as far as everything. He was just a model kid. And at the end of the year, we weren't sure what was going to transpire. But during his AAU circuit, he went to Florida, and he played so well that Shannon Anderson from the Knicks, used to play for the Knicks and the San Antonio Spurs. He saw him play, and he reached out to him and told him he could see exactly. He took him and worked him out a day, actually, and said that he's never seen a kid with that kind of drive. And so during that day, just to test how much he's on the slim side, how he could help him get better, he worked him out with a football team, and they were impressed. And so he wound up getting going to a school down there for this next year. And that's what we're hoping for, that he can get opportunity to play in that Florida area. But he's just been blessed to see so many things. And he ran into, while he was playing, he met Jamal Crawford, Skip Tumalu, so famous people had met him. And while we had him here, he met Pee Wee Kirkland once when we took him to New York. So he's been exposed to just so many different things and opportunities. And it was just a blessing that I could be a part of it. So that's what I'm in the process of writing a book on his journey.
All right, now, you know, me and you, so I'm gonna keep it real. What made you decide to write a book, and what made you decide to do what you do?
But yeah, I think I was inspired to write the book. I had a friend, his name is Billy Holt, rest in peace, from Hempstead, that I grew up with. And he was predicted at that time, actually he was 2 years younger than me. So he was one of the first kids in elementary school history in Hempstead to play for an 8th grade school team in the 6th grade. And Don Ryan, who was Julius Erving's coach, just took him under his wing. He was supposed to be the next one, just a Oscar Robertson type point guard. And over time, we reunited here in the Maryland area. He started helping me to coach with the Silver Hill Boys and Girls Club, and his impact here was even tremendous. And we used to sit around on the weekends and talk about all the legends that we learned from. We talked about Julius, and he knew Julius personally. And so he would tell me stories about when he went to visit Julius, when he went to the pros, when he first lived on Long Island on the North Shore, and just tell me so many stories. And I say, we got to collect this stuff. It's just an oral history that should be written down. And so I started just from spiral notebooks and compiling those notes and how much history he shared before he passed, and then other things that I remember. And people told me I have a photographic and sort of an oral memory. And the more I started writing, the more it just opened up and turned into a book. But also I had an inspiration, because where my poetry, I think, was derived from, I went to a summer program at Hofstra University. And my mentor there, his name is Alan Dunkley. He's also a school teacher with the Hempstead school system for probably 30 or 40 years. But they had this program where he introduced us to Langston Hughes. And I was also in that class with some of the members of Public Enemy. And so we started just coming up with different kind of, poetry and stuff like that. And I found that might be a creative way to use my basketball oral history. And more and more I thought about it, it just was revelations to me. And I just started keeping a tab. And before you know it, I had a book with I think 70 or 80 tributes of players that I had grown up seeing, including Julius. I wrote one for Julius Erving.
And Ed, I got to introduce to my co-host, Mike Semiao. You're gonna love this dude. He's off the hook. Mike, go ahead, man. Do your thing.
Ed, nice meeting you. The names you just dropped in the last 5 minutes could lend ourselves to about 5 or 6 different more podcasts just to explore those at length. And I know we don't have all that time to do that. But you mentioned earlier about, Michael mentioned where you had played and where you had gone in your life. I'd be very interested to learn about culturally what you experienced when you played in Istanbul.
Oh, wow.
I told you he's like that. I told you.
That story in itself was just and I never knew that I was going to be able to have the opportunity to play professionally, semi-professionally. When I arrived in Turkey, I didn't know anything about the culture or anything. And so actually they had the University of Maryland program, and my instructor said, you play basketball. That's your assignment for this course. And it was an 8-hour course, 2 semesters. And he said, next Monday, I want you to go. And he gave me a ferry ticket and directions. He said, take the ferry from Asia, from Europe, the European side to Asia, and go, once you get off the ferry, go to a cab driver and ask for Ahmed Mehdi, something like that. And when I got there, like I said, I didn't know Turkish, very, they gave you a brusher so you could speak and say hello, that type of thing, and how to ask for a taxi where you wanted to go. And so I'm asking, and about 4 or 5 different Ahmeds came running to me, bum rushed me almost, to get me a ride. And so then I go to the gym, meet the coach, everyone there, no one spoke English. And so they gave me the tryout, that 1-day tryout. And, I think they just fell in love because I could dunk. And they kept saying smosh. That was the term they used, smosh, smosh, smosh. And they throw me the ball. They just want me to dunk. And then they started nicknaming me Coolidge from the White Shadow program. Remember that?
Yeah. Okay.
They called me Coolidge. And it was just so amazing. And the other thing was they would just, I never knew. At that time, I think it was right around the time when the Roots movie had been shown, released worldwide. And so this was at the same time, it was around the time when they took the hostages in Iran. I arrived in Turkey around that period. So it was a tense situation, military-wise, and we couldn't wear American stuff when we went out. And you couldn't really identify because you could actually get kidnapped. Mm-hmm. So here's the craziest part of this story. Tryout start, I'm dunking, I'm getting warmed up, having fun. I'm like, wow, this is gonna be pretty good. All of a sudden, and they had told me about it earlier, but I didn't expect it that soon. They had a blackout, and the gym went completely black. And so I'm like, oh my God, don't tell me I'm getting kidnapped now. Because everybody, and then the team, everybody's laughing. So it kind of got scary. And I'm like, man, what's going on? And then, I don't know a soul there. I'm by myself alone. And it's that on the European side, no phone, no communication. I didn't even know who to call in case of an emergency. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, what do I do? And I'm trying to feel my way around in the dark. And this was like about 10 minutes stretch before the lights flickered back on. But it just shook me up so much. It was just one of those things, you never expect, so many things to happen in one day. But afterwards, they did sign me to a contract. And I played for that 1-year season. And had another teammate who came later on. His name was Tommy Blue, 6'9", from Elizabeth City State University, who had tried out for the Lakers and the Celtics and got cut. And so he actually signed an additional contract the following year. And I came back to the States with my military service. But it was a good experience, though, and also learning the European style of play. And there is a reason why I can see even back then the way they developed, because we had kids playing. They had 12, 13-year-old kids that they gave a chance to play instead of AAU and high school ball. They had that system where they did try to prime and recruit the kids and groom them at an early age.
Now, Ed, what gives you the insight and the determination and dedication to give to these kids?
Well, my reason for giving is because I got cut from so many teams trying out. And from the 6th grade through the 9th grade, I was cut every year. But I'm determined I'm going to keep trying, figuring it out. I got to the 9th grade. In the 10th grade, I made my first team. And it was an ugly incident. I got my front teeth knocked out. And our first game was against Lauenberg Institute, where we were already, on their home court. It was a big rivalry, and it was my start. They gave me a start, so I smiled at the start of the game, and the girls in the stands said, "There's a snaggletooth," and so I just choked up and couldn't concentrate at all, and I lost my whole frame of thought. So the coach benched me for the rest of the year. And until the final game, I only scored 2 points that year. So that, that kind of fueled me. I said, you can't, you got to regroup from this, but never give up. My next 2 years, I got cut. I came back to New York, so I got cut in Hempstead 2 years. I went to college at Livingstone. When I got there, coach got fired. The new coach brought in his own team. So I was cut 4 years at Livingstone. And I'm still playing recreation in the middle, wherever I could when I come back. And I'm coaching and helping. While I was at Livingstone, I was coaching the YMCA in Salisbury, North Carolina, and also with the Upward Bound program as part of my work study. So I'm gaining coaching experience, while I'm playing. And after Livingstone, I played Industrial League in North Carolina for a year before I joined the Army. And as far as I came to the Army, one of the main reasons that I joined, I asked the recruiter about the sports program because I heard about it. It was a pretty detailed and involved program. And he said, "Sure, you can play." And little did I realize that the path was just set. So once I got the basic training, we didn't play at all throughout entire basic training for 8 weeks. And then we did on the last week, we played a game of combat basketball with boots on. And we wound up playing I scored the winning basket against a guy from Brooklyn, New York, who was a good friend of Fly Williams.
Austin P. Yes, sir.
Austin P. And his name was Riddick Evans, but they were good friends. And so from there, I kind of helped, like wherever you go, once the unit that you traveling to, whatever unit you travel to in the States, you kind of bring a reputation or a record with you. And so they automatically kind of scouted me out to play each location that I was stationed.
Well, I want to give a shout out to my new boss, Kuma King. Give a shout out to us at our new show. We're here on a new show, and thanks to Ku, we're doing the damn thing. Now, before I get to where I really want to have you on the show for, I want to get my main co-host, Mike, do what you do.
Well, sort of going back to the Istanbul piece, and again, the names that are being mentioned, Ed, while you're talking. So I can understand where you're coming from as far as your drive, as far as, trying to overcome some of the situations. We're trying to make some teams and participate on some teams. What did you, aside from that, which I'm not diluting by any means, because I think those are big situations you have to kind of overcome. Aside from that, what was actually the other motivator that actually allows you to kind of keep moving forward? Because when you're dealing with that type of negative side of things athletically as a kid, right, as a young man, that's hard to overcome. So what was the other motivation you had aside from that driver of, I'm tired of getting cut, I want to make a team, I want to play, I want to contribute? What were some of the other things that were kind of going through your mind as a young man at that point?
Well, I think it was just because of that culture that I grew up with in Hempstead, because we played basketball 7 days a week. I mean, we played from morning, go get a slice of pizza, come back, play. If you lost, you had to go to the side court, work out. That was just in my drive and ambition. I mean, it was like maybe even close to being cult-like, because we played religiously. And I think it came up from everybody looked up to not only Julius Erving, but Al Williams, who played at Niagara back with Calvin Murphy. So these were guys. These were some older guys that we really looked up to. We wanted to be the next one. We wanted the guards in my neighborhood wanted to be the next Al Williams. The bigs, the forwards, we wanted to be the next Julius Erving. And I mean, like I say, I saw so much of Julius, like from, he used to drop tickets off at Hempstead Recreation Department. So we used to go to the next game. Well, a lot of times we even snuck in if somebody cracked the door. We went to games. We saw games. We saw like moves that they never seen, that weren't on TV, that he's done in live up close and personal. Sometimes even sitting up under the backboard structure. I mean, because we could just run around and roam around and see those games. And then afterwards, it's like, kids imitating Bruce Lee after they saw Fist of Furies.
Right.
If Julius did this switch hand move, we would try those moves. Everything he did, we tried. And to the point where we practiced in the park. And that's, I think, was part of that. It's just in my blood. Like they say, it's the same in the DMV. They call it in the water, so to speak. And I think it's the same with our era, my group of players from the 60s, 70s, 80s into the 90s. And the thing that I think really is a testament to it, if you look at Hempstead High School's basketball record, and you go back and count those championship teams, it was a 10-year period where we won New York State.
Wow.
Michael, let me just follow up real quick on one quick thing. So, we've had a number of guests on, Michael, and you and I have had a lot of conversations about our feelings about basketball and that level of commitment. It is interesting, and it continues to surprise me, and it really shouldn't. That I don't know Ed. I'm meeting him tonight. I read his book, learning a little bit more about him. But now it's another part of the country, another part of the world that you start to hear. It's that same feeling, Mike, about guys that want to play, guys that are really committed to this at a very, very young age, because there's that line of men who are ahead of you and I that we wanted to mimic, right? We wanted to be part of that, right? We wanted to be part of that conversation. And it's very interesting. We spoke to Kermit Washington. It was the same thing, right? We heard the same conversation coming out of DC. It's really cool to be, you and I are always excited about talking about some of the old guys that we watched. And we wanted, and as I just said, we wanted to be part of that conversation. But now you start to see how we're connected to everyone all over the country and all over the world with that level of commitment and that being involved with whatever sport it is. In our case, it's basketball. But how we're all dotted line connected, not through blood, but just through that level of interest in the commitment that we had as young guys and our interest that we still carry today. So it's really cool.
Now, Ed, what I want to do before we go any further, you mentioned Dr. J. Mike, I gotta bring it up. I gotta bring this up. Ed, 1976, at New Bedford High School, a group of about 7 of us got the opportunity to play against Dr. J. And it didn't work out well for me. I think he did a 360 or 720 dunk or whatever he did. But it was a great opportunity. But now you're talking to Mike right here. It was his dad and his crew that brought Dr. J to New Bedford High School. Ain't that something?
That's cool. Wow.
Very cool. And I got it wrong. I thought it was somebody else, but Mike checked me. He said, no, this is how it happened. He checked me, and I apologized, and we went on. But the reason, Ed, I wanted you on the show, Mike, give me a few minutes, because this is what I feel is emotional to me. Now, I'm going back a little ways, and there's a great singer out here in New Bedford. His name is Chops Turner. And a guy by the name of John E. Polito said, hey, can you get Chops to come on my show? I said, sure. So I bring Chops. We go down this place called the Kilburn Center in New Bedford. We sit down. A big, tall guy comes about 6'8". He has a Yukon shirt on. And I got my DePaul shirt on because, my boy's Dave Later. We all know that. So I got a DePaul shirt on. So John's sitting right across from me. And he goes, you know a little bit about basketball? I know something. Anyway, he goes, watch this. He gets on the phone. Ding, 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 ding. Gets on the phone. He goes, yo, number 24. What's going on, my man? How you doing? And I know what he said. And he goes, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you say hello to my man Mike Show and Chops Turner? I don't know who it is. He gets on the phone and says, how you doing, Michael? How you doing, Chops? Still don't know who it is. So then they talk and they hang up. He goes, you know who that was? I said, I have no idea. Sam Jones. I said, who? He said, Sam Jones. You want him on your show? I said, what? You want him on your show? I flipped out. Anyway, so he gave me a phone number. And Ed, you can attest to this. He gave me a phone number. So I'm all excited. So I called the number and I arranged it. And because Ed and I had this relationship, I said, Ed, I want you to come on with me to interview Sam Jones. He said, yeah, cool. We're good. I'm excited. So, and Mike, you can attest to this. I gave our producer at the time the wrong phone number. You know how I am. I gave him the wrong phone. You know how I am. I gave him the wrong phone number. So Ed's like that. Before he came out, I said, Ed, we're going to kick it. Ed's talking about his book. He's talking about everything he's doing. And then I said, Ed, can you handle my business while I go get the right number? And he took over and did a thing for me, thank God. So now I get the right number. But they tell me, Mike, you may only have 10, 15 minutes with him. I said, I'll take 10, 15 seconds. You know what I mean? So as we're talking, all of a sudden our producer at that time, he said, hey, Sam's he's on the line. And then, Mike, I don't know. I was in a different world. Man. I claim I'm a historian and I'm the con man and I'm all this and all that. Let me tell you right now, I disclaim that I am no historian. After talking to Sam Jones, I'm letting you know, folks don't know. Mm-hmm. Ed and I know. And it was great for us to be able to talk to that man. And I'm going to tell you something that even Ed and Mike don't know. The date was June 10th. Okay? My birthday is June 11th.
Mine too.
Yeah, there you go.
Mine too. June 11th.
So check this out. The next day is a Saturday. I'm doing my errands. I'm doing my thing. I get home. I get a phone call. And I get on the phone. I say, hello. He goes, hello, Mike. How you doing? I'm like, who's this? He says, Sam Jones. I want to thank you guys for doing the interview. I had a blast and I had a great time. I want to thank you guys for doing that. Mm. Now, this is on my birthday. And 3 months later, he passed away. So, I keep thinking, I'm a historian. But let me tell the viewers, no, I'm not. Anybody can read a book. Anybody can read stats. This man went through history. He lived it. And I'm going to tell you something. I played against Dr. J. Great. Played against the Archibald. Great. All the things I've ever done. That is the most important, I guess, thing I've ever done. Because, I should say we, because Ed and I did. Because I got to learn someone who lived the history. This man, Mike, I'm sure you already know, and the Celtics, Sam won 10 NBA championships. But yet, he couldn't eat at a restaurant with his teammates. Couldn't stay at the same hotel. Yeah. Now I'm going to get excited. Bill Russell wins a championship. Comes home, finds his whole house with feces on it, with a cross on the front of his lawn, and they lit it on fire. These are the things that I learned from Sam. And like I said, the interview was supposed to be 15 minutes. I don't know exactly how long it lasted, but you could go online and check it out. I think it was close to an hour. And that meant so much to me. So I have disclaimed me being a historian. I ain't nobody. After talking with that man, I ain't nobody. All right, I said my piece. I'm good. I'm good now.
Michael, anyway, that was a great interview, by the way. That was a great interview, and it actually, I think it went longer than an hour.
I think it might have.
Yeah, I think it did. So one of the thing about birthdays. So my birthday is June 9th. So you have 3 Geminis sitting on this.
Oh, that's the problem. That's the problem.
I'm not really sure what that means, but yeah, Sam had lived the life, right, as far as that goes, and the good and the bad, and yeah, anybody that wants to learn about history and his history, and as Ed has talked, the way Sam has been able to give back, right, for those young men that he reached out to go through his prep school, right? So Charlie Scott, Jimmy Walker, that's great history in helping those men along the way, and right, and trying to set a precedent, trying to set an example. It's great history. It's just, one of those things where if you don't know, and Michael, when you did that interview, it created a situation for me. I had to go do research because I didn't know anything about that. I sort of knew the racism that existed back then for that at that time, and for those players in that organization and other organizations and other players. I didn't know what was going on with the prep school and how that actually helps, and it helps a lot of people to try to move forward. And his impact to that, right, where he actually is in play with this. So I had to go understand it because I didn't know. I didn't know where it landed, and those connections locally for us, right? Locally in Massachusetts with Jimmy Walker going through that. So it's really cool, and your interview was great, and the connection back to our area with the Gomez brothers and him being able to reflect on that.
Yes.
That surprised me because I didn't know that connection either. So that's well known, and that family better than I do, but by reputation only, and the respect that how Sam spoke of them, right, and spoke of those brothers in that family. So that was very cool to hear, and I was very, very impressed with how you handled that and able to kind of navigate your way through with all that you were taking on that day, because there was a lot of information that as an interviewer you let Sam talk, and very willing and very open to express himself on those things, and some of that stuff is hard to hear.
And I have to give a big shout out to my man Ed, because he carried me through, because it was emotional. I was still kind of like in shock during that interview, man. It was a great thing, but it was great that we had a lot of things in common with the area out here in Massachusetts and Cape Cod.
I gotta chime in for a second. Not to cut y'all off. Y'all got 4 Geminis because I'm one too.
Go ahead. What she said? What's she doing now? And that's our boss, Key Williams. She's the producer. Without her, I couldn't even do this. So she'll be chiming in. Let's don't talk about it. Philadelphia Eagles or 76ers.
Michael, she was jumping on because she's the 4th Gemini.
Wow.
Oh, that's right. She's another Gemini. Okay.
Oh my
but again, I'm going to give a big shout out for my man Ed, because I reached out to him, and I was, looking at him, and he's the author in his book, and I purchased the book and I read it. It's outstanding. And now he got another book that Mike let me inform me about. And talk about that.
So I had because I got so many irons in the fire, I got the second edition of the Hempstead book, which I'm trying to finalize now. It's up to about 280 pages. So it's a compilation of what I did that first 80 or so players, and I've added a few more and collected some stats. So I'm hoping to have that one, but I think the challenges is with the publisher, but I'm gonna probably have to go maybe just produce it by electronic or ebook. Mm-hmm. And then my I guess it's my 4th book would have been the one, the Basketball Visionetics book. And that's the one where I started talking about working with kids on the mental aspect of the game. And just because I've worked with a lot of kids over time that I noticed to have either anger management problem or anxiety before games. There's different little things that I kind of detected and tried to figure a way to use, like I say, use my voice, use my poetry, and put together something. And that turned into a pretty good book. But I'm actually gonna revise it and republish that book also.
And Ed, my co-host Mike is also doing a book as well. So y'all might be able to connect, whatever, because he's writing a very outstanding book as well. So maybe y'all could get together and decipher how y'all going to do that.
Okay.
It's a great thing.
Bounce some things off of Ed as far as kind of going through the publishing side of this and what best routes to take and things like that. I would definitely like to do that.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed your book, and I communicated to Michael that I bought it, I read it, and I told him just in brief chat. I said it's very relatable to what I experienced as a player, and it was really cool that I could actually, some of those things that you're talking about, through my family and through my dad, who sort of guided me through a lot of different things, had put some of those particular situations you had brought up as far as visualization, calming yourself and breathing and trying to figure out how to actually get yourself through stressful situations. In particularly, the chapter that I enjoyed the most was Always. I thought that hit me the most as far as what I could actually understand about me as a player, me as a person, and what really motivated me about, I sort of looked at that Always chapter as always being present, right? Always being available, always being able to move through certain situations as a player and wanting to be a leader. I was not a vocal guy. I was by demonstration. I was more by physical attributes more than somebody that would, I was not a vocal person. I was not a vocal leader, but I could lead a team. I figured that out as time went on. And one of the pieces you had talked about in your book was, kind of connecting the dots on what do you need to do as far as getting your team through the finish line, right? What are those little things that you're going to do? Michael, making that right pass, setting the right pick, those kinds of things that are just, it's very difficult to teach that. You have to really experience that as you go. And Ed laid it out perfectly.
Oh, thank you.
Well, something, Ed, why do you think I got him as my co-host? He's like that. You know what I mean? He's like that. Well, and what are you doing now, and what's your future goals, ambitions?
So, one of the things I'm working on is because the success I had with Issa, I'm working on trying to get a vehicle that I can help more kids, but not necessarily that I can house everything. And one time I wanted to do that because we've done it before. See, Issa's not the first player. We had Umar, who you remember who played at DePaul and San Jose State. We also had another kid from Puerto Rico live with us, but I'm too old to do that now, but I want to try to find a way just to help kids wherever they are. Like I said, with Easter, that just the vehicle of we just use Facebook Messenger. And I just shared, like I said, YouTube videos, inspiration. Sometimes even, like I say, a chapter from my book, because sometimes they would tell me what their concerns were. And I would just send them a chapter, say, read this over and let me know what you think, if it helps or not. So I want to kind of just be a coach, mentor, consultant wherever I can. I just got to really get it into a good formatted process. And I think I can reach out and help more kids.
Now, Ed, let me tell you something real quick. See, you ain't saying all that you do. I know what you do. And to have these kids who you're mentoring, they are so fortunate to have someone like you in their lives, because we grew up I grew up in an era where we had mentors. Nowadays, the mentors are not there. And what you do, I know you don't want to brag about it, but I will. I'll tell everybody what you've done, because I've seen. We've talked. I've seen the recognition you received, and I just want to give you a big shout out for what you do for the kids, because that's what you're all about. From when I know you, you've always been that way. Yeah. And you're a mentor, you're educated, you got the experience, you got all the boxes checked. And kids need to see people like us, all of us, that can still overcome adversity and succeed. And when I see you, when I first reached out to you, I kind of saw, I didn't know you, but I kind of saw that. And I said, I'm going to reach out to this man. And you're true to yourself and you're true to the kids. And I see that because you hit me up and you hit me on Facebook about the kids that you were trying to mentor, that you trying to help to go to the next level. I'm going to tell you something. I don't care what anybody else says. What you're doing is fantastic for youth out of Maryland and whatever else you do. And I just want to give you my props for what you do because not too many people take the time and dedication to do what you do.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just a love, labor of love for me. And like I said, I've always, it's been kind of my motto. I think I heard it a while back, but I think it's from the way my mom just taught me. See, my mom was probably my first coach as a Cub Scout. And she just said, whenever you have a group, you're a group leader, you have to be inclusive. And so she was like always the weakest, the smallest, might turn out to be the biggest and the tallest. And I think it happened that way for me, where I was the last one chosen. I had to sit on the sideline and wait at Kennedy Park until all the big heavy hitter games were gone, and then I could go out and play. But I think that's part of that drive. And then when I started coaching, actually I had a story in Salisbury, North Carolina, where I had a little kid I was coaching my younger brother and his team. And one little kid, his name is Christian. He was just so puny, so small. You throw the ball, it almost knock him down. But in the rules where you had to play, you couldn't just keep him on the bench. My brother said, "Man, if we let him play, it's just gonna be a disaster. He really is not ready." Man, I said, I put him in there, and lo and behold, after one of those games, he got a basket, and Christian just went crazy. The crowd went crazy, and I just said, those are the type of things that you got. Those little things again that you live for and you try to do. And you never know where it will lead to. And I've had so many of those examples. And then moving on to I think one of my biggest contributions with, I had a childhood friend also here in Maryland named Larry Jackson, who grew up right down the street from me. And we reunited here in the Maryland area. And we started holding Hoop Mountain with your guy, Greg Christoph from Masters Boston, Greg Christoph, and I'm
not familiar with him. I don't know Mike is.
They're from Boston, and their son is on I'm trying to remember, it's Gibson. He's part of the McDonald's All-American Committee, but they helped us get started as far as holding college exposure camps. And so we hosted 2 camps, I think it was, maybe 3, where we would invite up 75, 80 kids, and they got to play in front of Division 2 and 3 college coaches. And from there, we helped several kids to get scholarships. And then that's where I started the AAU program that built to the point where they were also able to, get that exposure that they needed.
Yeah, you were referring to Greg Christoph as far as the AAU side of things. He's in Massachusetts, Michael. So he's kind of one of the grassroots zero gravity basketball.
Zero gravity.
Okay.
Through Massachusetts.
Zero gravity now, but prior to zero gravity, they were with Hoop Mountain, which was a big national corporation.
It's amazing how that whole industry is sort of just exploded with the AAU side of things and the instruction side of basketball at that level, from the prep side, even further back into the middle school side of things. So that whole opportunity has exploded for both boys and girls as far as what's really taking place, to try to get them at a different level so they can get educated. Like you and I talked about that, and Ed, that's one of the long conversations that Michael and I have had either on a podcast or online about what those opportunities, where they exist and how that's changed over, it feels like it's overnight, and I know it's not, but just getting those kids and those families exposed to those opportunities so they can get their families and their children better educated and hopefully for a better life.
That's true.
And Ed, I got to ask you something because you're in the thick of things. Mike and I, we did our thing, but you're still doing what you're doing. What is your feeling about the AAU overall? Do you think it's having kids play 8,000 games during summertime? I'm a referee. I still referee. So I come from a different perspective than you as a coach and a mentor. Do you think, Mother, what do you think?
I think it is so oversaturated. It's too many games. They could be counterproductive, even especially at the younger age where they should probably need to be learning more fundamentals and training and learning the game. And I mean, it's just so prevalent now where everybody thinks you have to play this many amount of games per year. And I think it's an overuse, especially a lot of times on the girls' side too, the wear and tear, and you're starting to see those injuries. But I think maybe if we just scale it back a little bit, maybe limit the amount of tournaments, and also, like I said, just to work on more on fundamentals and training. And there's some programs that do teach, and there's others that don't. I mean, it's a mix. It's a mix where it's all about winning, and then some are about development. But I think that it is something that we could, it's going to go on. I don't know or see an end in sight, or even see maybe perhaps we might take intervention from the AAU organization. I'm not really sure what the answer is, but I just think it overall, especially for the younger age children, I think it's putting a lot of wear and tear on their bodies.
Yeah, I always cringe when I see AAU videos or videos of kids working out and they've got some wrap on their leg. They have a wrap on their knee, and I'm like, this is a 12-year-old who has to have some level of support, which is always a scary sight because, I actually agree very much with Ed about the oversaturation with this where, I also think that, and I was not a kid that was out there cross-training and doing different sports, but I do think the takeaway of the specialization to a certain level actually hurts those kids at a young age when they're developing, right? I would be very much in the lane of, go play soccer, go play baseball, go play football, because that's all going to come. If you're that interested in basketball, figure out what's the right sport, right? So if you're just going to sit there with one sport, it gets to, sort of where that repetition of one sport that's the stress, that's the fatigue that creates those injuries.
Yes.
You're doing something a little bit different if you're running track, if you're swimming or whatever you're doing, those things are all great to do as a young person, and not to take away from, that whole piece, Michael, when you're talking about, hanging around with your friends and going to go do something, as opposed to, and this is where I was in this lane. I'm in my driveway working out. I'm doing my drills until I can't move anymore. So I'm preaching this way at this point, but I know what I went through as a young kid. And I knew the isolation that it created, but I was okay with it. I was fine with that. Other people had sort of had to get used to that. But today, I think it takes away from the fact that you're not being able to actually participate in other sports, and the specialization really gets in the way, I think.
Now, Ed, we got a few minutes left, so I want the viewers to learn about how they can get in contact with you and to learn more about what you're doing. And let the viewers know what's up.
Okay, my email is gameface@atlas-hoops.com. I'm not really up on Instagram like I should be. I think that's probably the best way to reach me. And I'm still trying to get my website and everything, all those other things together. It's just I'm a one-arm paper hanger trying to do it all. But and I use Coach Up, the Coach Up website. where I do training, because I still actually train kids at home. I have a doctor dish shoot machine, so I train kids when the weather permits. And I usually train kids for about an hour, half hour time if they're in the DMV area.
And you know something, I know because I try to contact you and you be like, yo, Mike, I got training to do. I got this. I mean, y'all just one of them guys, man. You just one of them guys, man. So I know you're the real deal. We got about a couple minutes left. Mike, what you want to add to this?
No, Ed was a great guest, right? I was looking forward to this after Michael, you letting me know as far as your relationship with Ed, and me getting exposed to the videos that I took a look at on YouTube, and also reading his book. As I said, that hit home with me quite a bit on a number of things. So I was really looking forward to this. Ed, it was great meeting you. Good luck with everything. I will hit you up at some point regarding some publishing opportunities that you have experienced and sort of the good and the bad of that. I'm a little bit of ways from that, unfortunately, but I try to move as much as I can when I have time. So I'm still chugging along with that.
Okay.
And Ed, also, before you say anything, I am going to have Nate Archibald on, and I'm going to hit you up after I hit up my co-host. I'm hitting you up. We're going to do that damn thing as well. Wow, best believe that, and I will.
Kind of, he was one of my idols. He's a good friend with my brother-in-law, but that would be just amazing. Can I just want
to thank you. I want to thank me for reaching out to you, but I want to thank you for acknowledging me, and because I might have been stalking you for a little bit. I don't even know, but I mean, I want to dig into your mind and your knowledge. And, we hit it off from the get-go. And I want to thank everyone who's tuning in. Again, I want to thank the Sports Wave Network, because this is our first show, Ed. Mike and I's first show on this network, thanks to Kuma Kane and Keith Williams. So, it's our first show. A little nervous, but we're going to be all right. So, anyway, I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the Sports Wave Network. We're going to be on every Friday, 5 p.m. live. Next week, and Ed, you might like this one. We got Mike Myers II, CEO of the MBA, Military Basketball Association. My man is like that, just like you are. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Tune in next Friday, 5 p.m. live at 5 on the Sports Wave Network. My co-host, Mike, thank you so much. Ed, you already know how we feel. You already know. Y'all have a good night. Thank God. God bless.
See you guys.
See you. Thanks.